It's Labor Day. Thank you for that. So, Labor Day, Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin. Kate Winslet is a very, very nervy and insecure single mum living with her young son. They go to the mall in the run-up to Labor Day, and whilst they are out shopping, they are effectively kidnapped by Josh Brolin, who is on the run. He was a dangerous man. Things on the television saying, if you see this man, avoid him. He basically takes them back to their house, where he insists that he is going to stay for a while before he makes his run to, I think it's Canada he's on the way to. And so it looks like a kidnap situation. I mean, it is a kidnap situation. However, he turns out to be far more decent than perhaps the reputation of dangerous criminal on the run may suggest. And she turns out to be far more resourceful than perhaps you would think. Here's a clip.
How far are the train tracks from your backyard?
Running.
Limping.
20 minutes, maybe.
People come over. Often, randomly. Friends, salesmen, religious people.
I'll make a run for it tonight, and I can stay out of your way until then.
I mean, they don't notice if I went quiet. Even for a little bit.
I just escaped from prison. The last place I want to go is back.
I'm stronger than you think.
I don't doubt that.
And I won't let anything happen to my son.
He's in good hands.
So you can probably tell even from that clip that what happens is that he has to spend time in their house. She's a single mom, young son who is lacking a father figure. And, into this house comes Josh Brolin, dangerous and threatening, all the rest of it. However, whilst he's there, he decides that he'll do a few odd jobs. And so he starts fixing things around the house. He does some wiring. He fixes up the boiler. He takes out a screwdriver and does some stuff with the hinges.
Quite useful.
Exactly. And then the next thing you know, he's involved in a full-on baking scenario. And you think, OK, you are now one dog and a sanded boat hull away from being in a Nick Sparks novel. And the funny thing about this is based on a novel by Joyce Maynard and directed by Ivan Reitman, who, of course, did Juno and, Young Adult. And, it's a very fine director. So the question is, what is it that stops this from being just, a Nick Sparks story? And I think the thing that does it is probably that it's got better performances than you would expect normally from a Nick Sparks. Did I say Ivan Reitman? Jason Reitman. Jason Reitman. As I said Ivan Reitman, my brain was going, that's not right. Jason Reitman, who directed Juno and Young Adult. And as you're watching it, you think the thing that makes this not a Nick Sparks novel is because it has very strong performances from Kate Winslet and Josh Brolin. And what they're doing, therefore, is bringing a depth and a sort of integrity to it. And yet, it is essentially exactly that same scenario that you've seen in all those, sort of paperback throwaway Nick Sparks films, Nick Sparks novels, and Nick Sparks.
I've never read a Nick Sparks novel. What is it? No, what are the characteristics of a Nick Sparks novel?
Well, you've seen the films, haven't you? It's like essentially there's a man and he's lonely and he kind of basically needs a woman, and but on the other hand he's an outcast for some reason. He's done something that's made him an outcast, but you can trust him, and you can trust him because A, he has a dog, B, he can sand down the hull of a boat, C, he probably reads or writes letters, and in this particular case he can fix your door hinge, he can get your boiler working again, and he can do some baking on the side that will somehow become some kind of family bonding. And then what happens during the rest of the drama is that a relationship starts to emerge between Brolin's character, between Kate Winslet's character. He starts to fill the void, that's obvious in the household, which is that the house needs a man to give him a father figure and to give her a husband. She, on the other hand, starts to come out of her shell, starts to become somebody who finds her feet, finds her own confidence in the company of somebody who is, of course, actually nominally incredibly dangerous. And it's a very odd. I saw it in the run-up to awards season when it was basically sort of being touted as a big awards contender. And Kate Winslet does have a reputation of, almost like Dame Judi Dench. She stars in stuff that you think, okay, this is awards bait because it's got Kate Winslet in it. She's a very good, very talented actress, has a terrific way with accents. is a very physical performance. There's something about the way she stands, the way she holds her head in any particular scene. It's very, very precise. We were talking before about verbal and non-verbal communication. She's one of those performers who so much of what's going on with her character is to do with the way she's standing, to do with the way she's holding her arms. It's a very, very physical performance. But underneath it all, it is kind of Nick Sparks with A levels, and I don't know that means that there's necessarily anything wrong with it. I mean, funnily enough, I have enjoyed many adaptations of Nick Sparks novels. I mean, they've started people like Kevin Costner or Zac Efron, and they always have that kind of Miller-time glow to them, and generally they start off. Well, the scenario is exactly the same. The scenario always works out exactly the same way, and people are very snotty about them. Critics are very snotty about them, but people like them, and they're good, enjoyable entertainment. This is like if you were sort of above going to see a Nick Sparks adaptation, but you basically wanted to see one of those stories, and you wanted to see it done by A-list actors doing proper performances and heartfelt and all the rest of it, blah, blah. That is what you've got. And Jason Reitman does have... He is a good director. The funny thing about this is that it's rather humorless, which is odd considering that the thing that sort of defined his work in the past is that it does have an edgy sense of humor. He is somebody who's got a very wry satirical take. This on the other hand, is completely straight-faced. And in some ways, its straight-facedness is the thing that kind of undermines it. I mean, on the one, it has to be straight-faced in order for you to take the story seriously. But I think it would have got away with it more had it sort of recognised its own slightly pulpy absurdity. So it's an odd one. Strong performances, essentially fluffy cheese. I mean, it's all the time the cheese is battling with the meat. There is this sort of meaty, substantial stuff going on, but it is incredibly cheesy and incredibly soft-focused. And then they end up baking a pie. And it is, can she bake a cherry pie, Billy Boy? And yes, she can. And we're moving into that Miller time section of the afternoon. So an odd one.